Do you like stress? I don't think any of us do. And you know what? Moving can be really stressful. And not knowing where you're going and panicking can be over the top. So if you don't like stress, this video is for you because we're talking today about how to not panic when moving last minute, right after this. Hey everybody, my name is Jared Chamberlain and I am here with the wonderful Alexander Weston.
Hi everyone.
Today we are talking about how to avoid panic when planning a move. I mean, this is a real thing, right?
Definitely a real
thing.
I think moving's the number one stress inducer in people's lives. So if it's not planned out, people panic.
Happens.
It happens.
It happens. And so that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about how to not panic when planning a move, because so many times you might just be randomly searching on the interwebs and find a beautiful place and go, we need that house.
I think it happens more than we like to admit, maybe.
I think it does. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I think that we were talking before, and I think the big thing with how to not panic and what causes panic is people's situation of the unknown, right? Yeah. And shining a light on this uncomfortable, unknown situation or thing that's underlying that they didn't realize. And so
definitely. Yeah. I think anytime you're doing anything, whether it's moving, job transition, whatever it is, things are scary because of the unknown. Yeah. And when we don't know what's going to happen, we panic about it. And I think the best way to avoid that is to have a plan in place. So that's what we'll talk about.
Speaking of plans, if you want to get our free moving up guide that you can download, go ahead into the comment section, description of the video, and you're going to see a link there. Go grab that guide, because that has some great tips. It's about 4 or 5 different guides inside of this big one that has tons of ways that you can plan better so you're not panicking when you're moving up to the right house. So let's jump into the first one. And the first tip really is know your situation. So know where you're at, know your location, your situation, what's happening. Because if you don't know where you stand, help us all.
If you're going to try to figure out where you're going, you need to know where you are. And I think like this, and this has happened quite a bit this year, where the exact situation that you talked about just a few seconds ago about, you know what, we're online, this house popped up, we want to go see it. Well, that kind of throws everyone into a chaotic, we got to move quickly. And especially in a market like this where the house likely is not going to last that long. So one of the big things is know where you're at with your house. Know where you're at with your finances. Know where you're at with your relationships. Like all these things factor into making that next step. So when that house does come up, it's not a crazy, I have no idea what our house is worth, or I don't really know what we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years. Will this house fit that? It's asking all those questions so you know where you are right now, and then you're somewhat prepared. Nobody's ever going to be perfectly prepared when something pops up like that, but at least you have a good base to start from.
Totally. And I think with that too is a part of that base is understanding the current value of your home. So when you are looking at the market and the home that you own, if you already have a home, then you need to know that value. And one of the things a tool that we use here a lot is called Homebeat. And so again, reach out to us, info@chamberlaingroup.ca, or if Alex is your agent as well, reach out to him, get that set up. But a Homebeat is really, really important. It's basically a monthly email that comes to you, and you get a report of all the sales, all the activity, everything that's comparable to your property, because that's going to make a big difference when that home comes up and it just that's the right house. We've been waiting for it. And you gotta get that in there, right?
For sure. I think that is a super helpful tool for anyone out there that's looking at, maybe in the next few years something might happen where you want to make a jump, but it just keeps you educated. And we can get even more specific if the Homebeat is maybe too general for somebody and they want just specific information. That's something that we can customize as well. So
totally.
I think that is one of the biggest things to know. Just kind of roughly where your house stands, what the market is doing. Those kind of questions can somewhat be answered through a Homebeat.
Totally. Yep. And I guess the other part too is knowing your current situation, excuse me, where you're at, but also where you want to go. And sometimes if you're planning on making a move, driving around, looking at specific streets, parts of neighborhoods, if you're moving up, I mean, you end up looking at a lot fewer homes than when you're buying your first home or one of the first homes, because you're kind of figuring out area where you want to live. But when you're moving up into that next house, you probably have a life that's kind of set. You know, kids at a certain school, certain activities, certain drive to work, whatever. And unless you're blowing that up and you're going somewhere else, you know, you're wanting to stay within a certain area. And most likely you'll have a handful of streets that you want to move up to, streets or neighborhoods or areas or whatever. So be really specific. And can people do searches like that where it's really, really specific?
Totally can, and would be definitely encouraged.
Yeah.
I think one thing that people often forget about is, well, unless you love moving, which I haven't met too many people that love moving.
But isn't it funny that we help people do something that they really don't like?
Yeah, and not only that, but like every 5 years, like people move.
Sorry, that's
but
strange.
If you're not one of those people, if you're a person like me who's like, I don't want to move anymore, one of the great things to do is to always have kind of a running idea of what you want in that next final, whatever that house is going to be for you. Because I think often that changes. Very rarely would anyone buy their first home and be like, oh, this is my forever home.
Totally.
And that's because life is always evolving.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're taking note of, you know what, our house right now has this, but man, if we were to do it again or in our next house, this is what we'd like to have. We'll have that running list, have that conversation with us so we can certainly help you find something like that. Or with
your spouse or partner.
Certainly have that conversation with your spouse or partner.
You would be shocked how many people, well, not you because you hear it, but you might be shocked how many people don't have that conversation with each other.
Yeah.
And they have their own list and then it's like, panic.
And they don't agree.
That's a way to avoid panic right there.
Yeah, be on the same page as your partner.
And ironically, that actually leads to the second point, which is communication. So you need to know who you are going to communicate clearly to. And I would say the first one is your partner. If you have other people involved in the sale or purchase of a home, talk to them because they're going to be massively involved in what's happening, right?
Definitely. And not only just your partner, a lot of people have a co-signer.
Yes.
That they want involved in a purchase. And having that conversation with whoever is going to be helping you make that transition through co-signing is good too, because it turns out sometimes they have opinions as well. So if you know that person's just like, you know what?
Justified or not.
Yeah. We're just helping you out. It's got nothing to do with us. And you're okay with that. And they're good. Then that's fine. But often people do want to have a little bit of input if they're co-signing. So it's a big thing for them too. So have that conversation with them.
That's true. And this leads us to our third point. And this can cause a lot of problem, cause a lot of panic. It can cause a lot of disappointment and heartache as well. Alex, what is this third point?
I think often moving is a way for us to kind of deal with maybe a different issue that's going on in our lives or in relationships that we have. And I mean, this is a huge topic, a huge question that goes well beyond real estate, but it's like if I have this, it'll solve how I feel right now. And that's not always the case. And I think the biggest thing is know why you want to move. Are you moving because it's going to help you and your family function better in life, or are you moving because you think it'll make you happy in your situation? And
or happier.
In your situation. And I think really we're still talking about material stuff. Right. Buying a house it's a thing. A house is a thing. But a home is what you live in. And I think just making a move to try to have a better home
Yeah.
is not necessarily the answer. And we may be talking ourselves out of a job here, but honestly, the health of our clients, I think, is way more important to us than just sales.
Well, I think what you're saying there is essentially, when you're a lot of times we think that something outside of who we are can fix the inside of who we are. And an external thing can solve the internal problem. And sometimes that internal problem is a bad relationship. It's your own discomfort with who you are, or past trauma, or whatever it is. I mean, this is a deep topic, but
very deep. We're going right down.
We're going right down. We'll come back up. Don't worry. But when you do that, sometimes we look at it and say, if I had, or if I was, or if I was located or lived in blank, fill in whatever you want there, that will solve the internal problems, or at least make them go away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it makes the pain subside, but then the solutions or the problems are still there with no solution.
Yeah. And even if it did, make you feel better for a little bit, eventually that's going to come back, right?
That's right.
And this is so counter to what we are being sold every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're marketed to, like, this will make you happy, this will make life easier.
And it's the opposite of what we are actually trying to do. Yes, we want to help you buy and sell houses.
Yeah.
But we also, at the Chamberlain Group, we want you to be healthy. We want you to be, a good familia. We want you to have a good family relations, because that's where so much of our future spawns from, right?
Right, for sure. So this might be more than what people were bargaining for when they clicked on this video.
We plugged it right in the middle there.
Yeah.
All right, but the last one. This is the last one, and this happens a lot, is you have bigger eyes than your pockets can actually afford.
Definitely. So, I mean, we all love nice things. We all love beautiful houses. We all love beautiful cars. All those kind of things are attractive. I think one of the big things, if you're ever kind of thinking, you know what, maybe in the next few years we'll consider moving or that kind of thing, I think it's important to know your budget.
Yes.
Talk to a mortgage broker, even if you don't really, think you're serious. I've lost count of the amount of times where people weren't serious and all of a sudden they're putting an offer in on a house. Like, things happen very quickly with real estate. And I think it's just important that we all have a good idea of where we're standing financially, what the bank will give us if that perfect house did come up.
Check your credit score.
Yeah, that's an easy one too.
Yeah,
but
just little things
something
like
that we don't do very often, right? So I think it's really important for people just to have a good idea of where they stand at all times.
Yeah.
Not just, when you're considering moving. So if you know that, and then you talk to one of us to kind of know where your current house is valued and keeping an eye on that, I think that sets you up for success and a lot less panic.
A lot less panic. That is right. Well, there you go, everybody. Hope this was helpful. And again, jump into the description of this video where you'll see the download link where you can go get the Moving Up Guide, where we dive into a lot of other topics outside of what we talked about here. But if you found value, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to our channel, share the video, as well as stay tuned, because we're going to have a lot more of this great content. And if you ever need help, reach out to us at 587-316-5400. Or you can email us at info@chamberlaingroup.ca. That's what we have. So we're going to say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
And we'll see you
Don't
guys
forget to like and subscribe.
Ooh, you've just always wanted to say that.
I have always wanted to say that.
There you go. It's from all his YouTuber videos he watches.
Yeah.
See you guys later.